Hello, everyone. My name is Krista Kolbinski, and this is my final research project presentation. The topic I'm going to be covering is the Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier first fight, known as the Fight of the Century, and this is for St. Thomas University and sports history class. So, as an introduction, I just want to talk about the purpose of this presentation, which is to discuss the backgrounds of Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, the Ali-Frazier fight one, the build-up, the social factors associated with the results, and the ramifications of the fight. The Ali-Frazier fight took place on March 8, 1971, at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Some were invested in this event because it was the first time in history when two undefeated heavyweight world champions would face off against each other. But most were invested in the fight because it was ultimately patriotic America versus radical America, and was so much more about the country than it was about fighting. So Muhammad Ali is the first fighter, and he was formerly named Cassius Marcellus Clay, and he was from a middle-class home in Louisville, Kentucky. He became the most famous American athlete of the 20th century, known as the heavyweight champion of the world from 1964 to 1967, once more from 1974 to 1978, and then renamed again in 1978. Ali was the first man to regain the title 3 times and was also the youngest boxer to compete at the Rome Olympics and win the light heavyweight gold medal. He was a very handsome, brash, charismatic, outspoken guy who carried himself with confidence. Ali showed a mean spirit when competing, and it was evident that he lacked in respect and dignity. This was shocking because when people in my generation think about Muhammad Ali, they automatically assume that he was this respectful and successful boxer. Many people know his quote, "I hated every minute of training, but I said don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion." So Ali declared himself a newly stated black Muslim and changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad after converting to Islam, which created much controversy. The Nation of Islam was dominated by criminals, ex-prostitutes, and drug dealers at this time. He was also stripped of his title for refusing induction into the military during the Vietnam War, stating, "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong." Ali's social significance included combining the anti-Vietnam War protests and the civil rights movements, which allowed him to become a hero to America. Many despised Ali's active refusal, and others embraced it. This eventually led to a world debate, and Ali was convicted of draft evasion, sentenced to 5 years in prison, charged a $10,000 fine, and banned from boxing for 3 years. He stayed out of prison as his case was appealed and returned to the ring in 1970, knocking out Jerry Quarry in Atlanta. Many people considered him a coward for choosing to fight in the ring and not overseas for his country. After his exile, he lectured to college students and appeared on Broadway shows to stay afloat financially. In Rosen's The Champ and Mr. X article, the true story of Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, and Muhammad Ali was very well told. Malcolm and Ali were not as close as everybody assumed. Most people considered them brothers, and by the end it couldn't be further from the truth. Ultimately, Malcolm X not only used Ali as a human shield against the FOI, known as the Fruit of Islam assassins, but exploited his friendship with him, manipulated him, and withheld the truth from him various times. The Fruit of Islam was the name given to the military training of men that belonged to Islam in North America, and the responsibility of the FOI is that of a head of house, protection, provision, and maintenance of the Nation of Islam. In a desperate attempt to prove his value to Elijah, Malcolm X offered to deliver Clay to Chicago after the Liston fight, treating Cassius like some prize that could be bartered or traded. But Elijah did not have to buy Clay's loyalty. He already owned it. Muhammad Ali's loyalty lied with Elijah Muhammad, and ultimately Malcolm X was assassinated by a group of FOI enforcers thanks to the orders of Elijah Muhammad. Joe Frazier is the second fighter, and he was a stoic man from Beaufort, South Carolina, who was the complete opposite of Ali. He was obliging and always had a smile on his face. Frazier was born and raised in what was known as the hunger capital of America. He was a poor slave growing up who worked for the white man in the fields before he moved to Philadelphia in 1959 to work in a slaughterhouse during the day and train as a boxer during the night. Frazier won the 1964 Olympic heavyweight gold medal in Tokyo, 4 years after Ali did. He came back to the United States with a gold medal, broken thumb, and no job. Because of this, 40 Philadelphia businessmen, black and white, formed Cloverly Inc. to back Joe's career with 80 shares at $250 per share. Throughout this time, Ali was still the boxer with all the spotlight, and Frazier was overlooked by many. Frazier was deferred. Frazier was deferred from the draft because he was married and had children, while Ali was exiled for 3 years for refusing to fight. Frazier would have been proud to fight for his country, and this was the huge difference America saw between him and Ali. Frazier was the symbol of Ali's oppressors, and eventually Ali emerged as the world's most recognizable personality, but it was Frazier that put him center stage. So the Ali Frazier fight, it was the two undefeated heavyweight champions finally coming face to face, and America couldn't have been more thrilled. It was a killing ground, a fashion show, a celebrity walk, and everybody from every aspect of the entertainment and sports industry was there. The eyes of the world were focused on that ring, and it was the place everyone wanted to be. Madison Square Garden and the Houston Astrodome each offered $1.25 million to each man, but Jerry Parenchio offered $2.5 million to each fighter. Parenchio reached out to Jack Cook, who offered to pay $4.5 million, with Madison Square Garden paying the other $500,000. Some strings were pulled to cancel a show already in place to happen on March 8th, and the fight was officially on. Because of commercials and people involved with the logistics of the fight, it was difficult to tell the difference between it being a boxing match and a show business. No fight in history had depended so heavily on technology. The fight wasn't just a network broadcast, it was something more special. The news media also bombarded Madison Square Garden with 2,000 requests for 600 credentials. This was the first of 3 fights Ali and Frazier would have against each other. The second fight was known as the Super Fight 2 in 1974, and the third was known as the Thrilla in Manila in 1975. So the build-up to the fight. The build-up included Ali coming out of exile after 3.5 years. Another build-up included Frazier supporting Ali's license because he felt like the decision to ban him was unfair. Frazier even told Ali to his face that whatever it takes for me to lend myself to you in getting licensed again, I'll be there for you. Ali and Frazier had good, respectful conversations and would even joke around, saying they would set records for box scores. But when it came time to get Ali licensed, Frazier pitched in money to make it happen, and even gave him a few $1,000 to help him out. Immediately after this exchange of money occurred, Ali got out of Frazier's limo and confused him by drawing attention to himself from people in the media, shouting out that he wanted to fight Joe Frazier and show everybody who the real heavyweight champion of the world was. Around this time, Frazier began to resent Ali because he moved to his city of Philadelphia. Frazier took Ali's relocation as a form of disrespect, and this added to the buildup of the match for Frazier personally. Another buildup included a meeting Frazier and Ali were supposed to have at a PAL Center in Philadelphia, but it turned into Ali walking down Columbia Avenue with a crowd of about 1,000 or more people chanting, "I want Frazier." Ali basically said, "Forget the license, meet me in Fairmount Park." Businesses were even shutting down midday to see this fight, and it became evident that people would bite on any little opportunity they found to see Frazier and Ali face each other. Ali showed up loudly to the park, but Frazier didn't show at all. Frazier was a fighter to the core. He didn't care about talking all this talk like Ali did because he simply wanted to walk the walk and get in the ring. Frazier didn't understand all of Ali's assets of showmanship or the insults he rained down upon him and his family through his cruel comments. The final buildup of the match included that it was the first time in history when 2 undefeated heavyweight world champions would face off against each other. So the social factors associated with the fight included Ali and Frazier each representing half of America, one representing patriotic America and the other representing radical America. 2 gladiators for the ages turned America into one nation divisible, with Ali and Frazier for all. There was tremendous polarization in America as Ali's supporters showed resistance to the draft, and Frazier's fans showed support not because he believed Americans should be fighting in Vietnam, but because he was the anti-Ali. Frazier's innocence represented white America, and Ali's actions represented the rest of America who felt like their country was full of inequality and injustice. Ali tried to change the world, and it wasn't that Frazier didn't care to, but mainly he cared about getting in the ring. The common misconception about Frazier was that he disagreed with what Ali was standing for, but he didn't. He even disagreed with the fact that Ali got banned from the ring for so long. After all, them being professional American boxers is the only reason they were remotely involved with one another. Through Ali calling Frazier Black Uncle Tom, the white man's champ, and other various cruel names, Frazier's family was affected. His son Marvis was verbally bullied all the time because of the stereotypes his dad had been given by Ali and half of the world. The only way for Frazier to shut up Ali and the rest of the world who didn't understand that he wasn't concerned with politics but only interested in fighting was to beat Ali. It was clear that Ali and Frazier brought out the best in each other inside the ring and the worst of each other outside of it. The divisions in America were so deep, with regular riots, acts of violence, and hard hats beating up long hairs every single day. And all of it would lead up to one boxing ring, one fight, and one heavyweight champion. The results of the fight included so it was not just a fight. It was honestly a world event. 300 million television viewers plus attendees committed to the event, and it turned out to be one of America's greatest fights to ever happen. Ali controlled the first 3 rounds for the most part, and then Frazier completely took over, taking the words out of Ali's mouth. Shockingly, the score was tied going into the 9th round, at least Frazier thought. Then Ali won the 9th and 10th, leading everyone to believe he would win. The fight went back and forth until the final round when Frazier knocked Ali down with his big left hook to retain his heavyweight champion title via unanimous decision. Frazier persevered and kept his promise that he would beat the man who said he couldn't be beaten. Some would say the winner that night, Frazier, was the loser, and the loser that night, Ali, was the winner. Ramifications for the fight reached far beyond the boxing ring. Ali left the ring for the final time in 1981 with a 56-5 record. Frazier's final record was 33-5. In 1984, it was revealed Ali had Parkinson's disease. In 2011, Frazier was diagnosed with liver cancer and died that same year of complications from the disease. Ali was a member of the inaugural class of the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990, and in 2005, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Frazier became an inductee of both the International Boxing Hall of Fame and the World Boxing Hall of Fame. Here are my references, and that is it. Thank you.